Every single day, I get onto YouTube and see a video about someone talking about the camera equipment they use. And they usually are like, yeah, I use this lens and it's, only like $1,500. And to me, and probably to you too, that just seems insane. Who actually has $1,500 to spend on a camera lens unless that's your job? I mean, come on. So for hobbyists, I decided I would look at more cheaper options for lenses. I love portrait photography, and I really wanted an 85mm lens to get that really good shallow depth of field and that really nice compression on faces when I'm doing portraits. But almost all 85mm lenses you find are upwards of $1,000 or even $2,000, which is insane. So I found an 85mm lens with a low aperture for under $500. And that is this, the Canon 85mm 1.8. You get that 85mm focal length, which is great for the compression on the faces, and the low aperture also means that you get that nice, good, smooth background blur that we're all seeking for in our portraits. Now, I think that this is a great option for those who want to get into high-level portrait photography but don't want to spend thousands of dollars on their camera equipment. You can buy this lens brand new for $350, and I got this one used in great condition for $250. $250 for a nice 85mm lens is crazy cheap. That's one of the main reasons why I shoot Canon, is because you can find old lenses like this for excellent prices that still give you great results. I can stick this on my Canon 6D and the whole setup is less than $800, and I can get amazing results from it and can even do professional jobs with it if I wanted to. This lens is great for those who are just starting in portrait photography and they really need that lens to really give that amazing looking compression and that amazing looking depth of field that they want on their portraits. I just got this lens recently, so I haven't got to use it that much, but I did get to take a few pictures of my friend at an event the other day, and they looked great. I was super happy with the results. You really got that nice depth of field, which I really wanted in that portrait. For the longest time, my only lens was a 50mm lens, and the 50mm is a good all-around lens, and it can be used for a lot of different things, but it just didn't give me that satisfying look that I really wanted in my portraits, which this 85 can do. Now, if anyone isn't sure about the uses of different focal lengths, basically, the higher the focal length, the more depth you get in the background and in the subject. With a really wide lens, you're going to see a really narrow depth of field and a really narrow complexion of the person, whereas the longer you go, like an 85, a 105, a 200, those kinds of focal lengths really give that satisfying, flat, separated look that you want out of a portrait. An 85 is also great for full body shots because it has enough compression in it to where you can still get background blur despite being that far back from the subject. Whereas if you're shooting full body with, say, a 24 or 35 lens, you're not going to get that same level of depth of field from that distance. One of my favorite things about this 85mm lens is it has an ultrasonic motor, and that motor is really fast and really silent. You can barely hear it whenever it's running. Now, it's not going to be as sharp or give you as much depth of field as, say, a Canon 85 1.4 or a Sigma 85 1.4 or a Tamron 85 1.8 or 1.4. All those lenses are far more expensive and you do get better results out of them, but it's not a big enough difference to where for me, personally, it would be worth the money to upgrade to those at the moment. Now, if I was a professional, I might get a more professional 85mm lens, but for now, this can do the trick. Now, yes, the 1.8 aperture is not going to be as good as, say, a 1.4 or 1.2 aperture. Those lenses are going to give you even more depth of field than a 1.8 would, but the 1.8 is plenty for the majority of people, especially for hobbyists who aren't doing it as a profession. The few times I've used it, I've never been really wanting more background blur. It's been plenty for what I need it for, and 1.8 still lets in a lot of light. I went and took pictures at one of my school's football games. At that football game, it went into the night and started to get dark, but I was able to keep my ISO relatively low on my camera because I was still letting in a lot of light through that lens. Now, if you're using this lens on an APS-C camera, then you're going to have more of a 135mm equivalent focal length. And that's going to be much farther, much more on the telephoto kind of range. And that's still great for portraits, but you're not going to get quite as ideal of a portrait focal length, in my opinion, than you would on a full-frame camera with that actual 85mm. If you're a video shooter, an 85mm lens is great for doing like B-roll or any of those kinds of footage that you want that have a really nice compression, really nice depth of field. Now this of course would not be a very great vlogging lens because it would be impossible to get your full face in the frame with this tight of focal length. So if you're looking for a nice portrait lens and you don't want to shell out a ton of money for one, it's a really great budget option to start getting that really nice depth of field and that really nice compression on a face in portrait photography. I hope this helped you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.